Hello and welcome to the latest Kennedy Training Network monthly training webcast. I'm very impressed to see how many people worldwide have taken time out, first of all, on a Monday, and secondly, on a Monday in the middle of July. So if you're a resort right now, this is probably a really busy week for you, and we are impressed. If you're a hotel in a city center, perhaps you might be busy too, because a lot of people are back to visiting cities on summer break. And of course, we still have the business travelers out there like me. I was traveling on business last week. So welcome. As you know, we do our training webcast once a month, usually around middle to the late part of the month, either on a Monday or Friday. And today's webcast is how to turn every conversation into a sales and marketing opportunity. And we always like to give a shout out to our sponsors that fund this webcast, not only to help us promote it, but to allow me to set the development time aside to prepare these webcasts as well as the presentation time. So we have Track, a TravelNet solution, which provides property management systems for the vacation rental and condo hotel segment. Also, they have a fantastic call and lead tracking called Track Pulse. Travel Outlook, the premier hotel call center. We do a lot with Travel Outlook. They're our only call center that is fully certified by Kennedy Training Network. We actually not only train every new agent that comes on board, but we remotely call score random calls, and they have to maintain our standard. And of course, Better Talent, a unique staffing agency. Thank you, Steve Trover and team. So if you've been with us before, in fact, in looking at the registration list today, as I always do with Julia, our marketing coordinator, we have a lot of brand new people joining us. So thank you for carving out time. We always do, though, like to give a few shout outs as we're waiting for the last people who are going to be joining us live. We have many clients here today. I see regulars, almost every webcast, maybe every webcast, Nizuk in Cancun, Mexico, Estefania and your team. Viceroy Las Cabos, Jessica, Maria, Angelica, thank you for joining us. Fantasyland up in Edmonton, Canada, once again, Rianne. And then we have Joe from the Embassy Suites Orlando North, Baystar Hotels. It reminded me it's been a couple of years since I've come up there and done on-site training for you. So maybe give a call to your GM if you like this webcast. I would love to come back. Jim from the Holiday Inn, Jim Holiday from Beaver Run. Great to see you turn out for the webcast today. I didn't realize you were at Beaver Run, which I did training for probably 6 or 8 years ago. We have a lot of vacation rental companies, Sun Castle in Ponte Vedra, Clear Creek, Chelsea. Thank you for taking time to meet with us last week. We hope this webcast gives you some insights into our training. We have Camilla from Tybee Vacations, Katie, Sun Realty. Hello, Katie. I miss you, haven't seen you in a while. Similarly, Kelly at Oak Island out in North Carolina, and Sandy from Elliott. We have a lot of management companies. Andrew Todd, GF Hotels, probably been 20 years since I sat in your office. Tower Hospitality. Wow, we did not know this company yet. We see probably a half a dozen people here. Marcel, a GM, thank you for turning out. Stephanie, Area Director of Sales. We have a couple of non-hotel or lodging clients. We have companies that are not either a hotel nor a vacation rental lodging company. Robin from New Smyrna Beach, CVB. I would love to come out and do a keynote presentation or an area-wide training. We've been doing that a lot for CVBs and tourism destinations. Daryl from Tally, Association Management Company. It looks like you're in the meeting planning business. We have Christy from Walt Disney World in Orlando. Thank you for joining us. It's always an honor when Disney folks join us because we know your company is, of course, famous for training, and you've joined us today. T&B Hotels, once again, Ted, I noticed you and quite a few others. McGill Hospitality. I don't think we've met you yet. We have Bridget today. Real Hospitality, Ronnie, and a couple of others. And then we have a few international clients that are international attendees that are new that I'm not familiar with. Nicole and Nordia from Sandals, Jamaica. didn't say which property you're at, but I have done training for Sandals in the early 2000s. So I got to stay at Sandals Mo Bay. We stayed at Beaches Negril, also Sandals Negril. Capiel from, well, on your way to Vietnam. So hello, it was nice meeting with you as you look to acquire properties there. And Hieronyman from Mexico City. We have Ingrid's from Princess Resorts. And so many others. I'd like to give a shout out to all of you today for joining us. So let us now get started in our webcast today. Train your guest service staff to turn every conversation into a sales and marketing opportunity. And the conversation may not always be a verbal one. It could also be a written conversation in chat, in email, in text, but it's still a conversation, all right? Now, speaking of text and email and chat, as AI-powered tech solutions replace more and more of the human touch points in the guest cycle, those touch points that remain in our cycle of a guest stay, they become ever more important. So I would like to take you back into the history of lodging a little bit. Now, as many of you know, I started working in hotels at the very young age of 20. And I actually worked as a banquet waiter late and pretty quickly went to the front office as a airport van driver, a doorman, bellman, front desk, and then I came up through the front office. I was just kind of going down memory lane earlier this month when I was in Lexington, Kentucky, my hometown. This year I was back visiting the Marriott Griffin Gate Resort where I started my career. Last summer I actually stayed there, but this year we stayed at a different Marriott property. But it reminded me of all of the touch points when I worked there. So even if you think back, now that was quite a few years ago. Some of you were not even born, many of you were not even born on the webcast today. But even as early as the year 2000 and perhaps even 2010, we had these touch points that pretty much every guest went through the cycle of their stay, from the booking cycle all the way through the arrival, in-house, and then departure. So people used to call with questions prior to booking. In fact, we have probably 20% of our clients are vacation home rental companies today. Vacation rental companies used to print out a catalog of all of their homes and condos, and they would mail that out. So people would call to say, hey, have you put out the 2024 planner yet? And then they would call and they would have questions, and they would actually then call back to book. Hotels as well, you know, hotel brands put out directories, or people would call to the local tourism office to get the brochures, or they would go to something called a bookstore. Actually, bookstores are coming back in popularity, but they would get those travel books, and then they would call. Then they would call with questions after they booked, like as, how long does it take to get there from the airport? One question I used to always ask was, what is the approximate taxi fare from the airport and how long does it take? Because, you know, it used to be some taxi drivers were not so nice and they would say, oh, first time in the city? And, you know, I was smart enough to say, actually, no, even if it was. But sometimes, you know, they used to take people kind of the long way. So smart people would call and ask. Not only that, but you had to bring cash for the taxi driver, of course. And then, of course, what amenities do you have? What's in the area? And then they would call to reconfirm. When people started booking on OTAs, which was the late 90s, by the way, when Microsoft owned Expedia. And then people, even today, when they book through an OTA, they will still call sometimes. Not as often as they used to. Assistance with luggage, hailing cabs, and directions. When I was a bellman, they did not have luggage with wheels on it yet. Now, of course, that has been around for many years, but with the airlines being more restrictive and charging for extra bags and overweight bags, well, increasingly people have those little small luggages with the wheels, and you know, we don't have those conversations anymore. Who takes a cab anymore, all right? Actually, I take a cab when I arrive at the airport because you walk right out and you get right in the cab, as opposed to waiting and trying to find your Uber. But from the hotel going back, I take an Uber or a Lyft because it's a lot quicker. Traditional check-in experiences, actually going to the front desk, particularly Hilton led the charge to replace that interaction, although it is slow to take off, slower than perhaps they might have thought. But maybe 10, 20% of guests check in and go straight to the room at certain brands. Now, if you're a vacation rental company, most of you do exclusively remote check-in, and they go straight to the home, and they have their door code, their key code, and they go right in. So we no longer see them in a reception office. Calls from the accommodation with questions. How do you work things? How do things work? Now in vacation home rental, you have your app that tells you everything. Hotels, first of all, most things are easier to work in the controls these days, but also, again, they no longer call and ask for questions about how to find things or what's in the area. They just do Google shopping center near me, or shopping mall near me. Visits to the front office with questions, again, those have gone away. Ordering room service, booking dining and spa reservations. Now, a lot of people still do this by phone, but the tech companies are trying to replace the human parts. They've already done it with room service. Frankly, not a huge fan. When you're at a hotel and you're trying to order room service, and first of all, you got to find the remote. You got to hope the battery works. You got to hope the battery is strong enough to actually turn on the TV and find the menu. And then most of the menus say appetizers, entrees, and then under entrees, steak, fish, and then you gotta go and look at the fish ones, and then go back, and then go to the appetizers and go back. And I like the old days when it was right there. You could actually see the menu and go, okay, I'll take all these things. But again, people are using it. Gift shop lobby bartenders. Being back at the Marriott Griffin Gate this summer, it reminded me of my dear friend. His name was Lynn. He was from Lebanon. This guy was an amazing bartender, and he could tell you everything about bourbon. This was before the famous Kentucky Bourbon Trail that a lot of people, that just kind of like Napa Valley for wine, and Sonoma in California, people go on the Bourbon Trail. But before there was a Bourbon Trail, Lynn knew his bourbon. You go to the Griffin Gate now, Lynn's bar has been replaced by a self-service machine. It breaks my heart. They actually have, I don't know, 5 or 6 different kinds of bourbon, and I guess you put your card in and you get to order your bourbon from a machine. I don't know about you, and I no longer drink, but when I did drink, I'd like to say, hey, can you recommend, tell me about this, and get those personal opinions. So the point is, this is more technology, more AI, and we ain't done yet, folks. This offers a huge opportunity to build your brand by becoming obsessed with making the most of what other human interactions remain. And that's how we stand out, okay? A lot of people are bringing back that focus, but many hotels continue instead to move in their mental focus, and their philosophy is on tech. You see this in the vacation rental business when you go to conferences like the Vacation Rental Management Association. You see it in the hotel business when you attend high tech. And tech companies want to sell us more tech to replace more humans. Now, the reality is, folks, that guests are more likely to reach out to humans when things go wrong or when they have special requests. So you go back to my list of all the touch points that have been removed, but guess what? A lot of those touch points don't work very well. You get to your room and your phone won't open the door because there's a glitch in the app. What happened on last Friday with the huge Microsoft problem from the technology problem that shut down a lot? Well, we know that was a very unusual thing from CrowdSpike, but still today things go wrong, or they have special needs at every one of those touch points that we said are decreasingly happening. They still happen, okay? But the point I'm trying to make right now in this segment is that guests are more likely to be reaching out to us humans when they have a problem or a quandary. Now I have to sometimes define the word quandary for people, especially where we have internationals all around the world. Maybe English is not your, maybe it's your second or third or fourth language for some of you, but a quandary is like a dilemma. It's like a problem without an easy solution. When the guest has a problem or a quandary, increasingly, that's the ones that are left. So as the easy needs are handled by AI, the odds of fielding a difficult question or complaint increase every year. Let me give you an example. I was recently in May, I was in a very large resort in the Bahamas. They have 4 different resorts, maybe 4 or 5 different resorts in the complex. And each one is a separate style of luxury and upscale and mid-scale, et cetera. And they used to have, if I remember the numbers correctly, about 20 people taking what we used to call PBX. Some of you still call it PBX, but the communications department, the phone people, 20 per building, okay? And now today they have about 35 in one office, okay? So a lot fewer phone calls. And I said to them, and I got to listen to their phone calls, the actual recordings. And the people that call today are, they don't ask the easy questions because they have a wonderful resort app. They still have in-house Chris Compodiums. But the people that still call these days, the odds that someone calls that's upset is much higher. So let's take a look at what I call the roulette wheel of phone calls. This could be either at a front desk, a guest communications, or a reservations department, or a hotel sales department. You look at the roulette wheel, and when we're about to take a call, we're like spinning the wheel, and where is it going to land? Okay. So you see, we still have a lot of happy faces on here, but every year we have more and more crazy people, cursing people. Oh, angels. We always have a few angels. Some pumpkin face. I don't know what that emoji means. Here's just an angry person. So every year, the happy people are taking off this roulette wheel because they're doing self-service. Okay. So every year, as the wheels change, what's left is more and more difficult ones. So leaders today, this is both a train the trainer class for the leaders and the managers, which is why the title is how to train your staff to turn every contact into a sales and marketing opportunity. So let me first talk about how to train your staff to do that, but also how to do that for those of you who are frontline staff. But we want to reframe the concept of the job. We want to train people in creative problem solving. We want to provide coping skills with dealing with negativity. So all of these will help you whether you're a leader training others or you're a frontline worker that is actually doing the job. Let's talk about reframing the concept of the work that we do. So one of the themes in our traditional on-site training, which is what I do almost every week, I do about 6 trainings a month, where I go out to a different hotel, resort, vacation rental company, and I train on site. If you'd ever like to have me out, send me an email after this. But one of the themes that I always talk about is the most important aspect of your job is not the job. So if you're a bellman, a bell person, I should say, we have many bell humans, men and women these days. And the most important part of your job is not to carry luggage, because today people have wheels on their luggage. The most important part is welcoming them. I was just reading some comments from a list of top general managers recently at 5-star hotels, and one of them said, they said the most thing they look at the most is a really, really, really good door person. If you are a bartender, obviously my friend Lynn, well, he was long gone from that hotel, but there are machines to replace bartenders. Obviously, the front desk now, people can check in remotely at a hotel. Vacation rental, they go straight to the home. The most important part of your job is not the job. It's a little bit about taking a phone reservation and a lot about hospitality. Hotel salespeople, we have a lot of you here today. Have you heard of Groups 360? They are developing the technology for the meeting planners. We have a meeting planner I shouted out here earlier. You could have the option of going to Groups 360 and booking your own conference, just like you do a package on like an Expedia. Book the hotel, the rental car, and the airfare all in one. You can do this now. Increasingly, you can do this. Now, obviously, if you're booking a large conference, there's going to be a human involved. But still, for most hotel salespeople, dealing with most of the events are small, can be self-service. That's a little bit of your job. It's the connection part. It's our uniquely human ability to create those human connections. And that's why we're going to go in a few minutes to give examples. What is personalized hospitality and what it is not. So stay tuned, okay? I also want to speak briefly about creative problem solving. This is a theme of some of our leadership training at KTN. It's also a theme of some of the hospitality training that we do. You know, is your team empowered? Sometimes when I talk to leaders, I say, oh, do you empower their team? Great, okay. I do this in the meeting the day prior to the actual training. The next day, I have the frontline staff and I say, do you feel empowered? More than a few times, people look glazed over. Occasionally, they have the courage to say, what does it mean to be empowered? Sometimes I ask them. So do they may know the word, they may have heard the word floated, they may have said the word, but do they really understand the word? Do they know truly what that means? This was a big movement years ago in the hospitality industry, but we got away from that. So make sure that we have people that fully understand what empowerment means. Does your staff fully understand what guests are experiencing daily? Because if you're going to empower them to resolve dilemmas, to resolve complaints, to resolve these difficult situations people get into, they have to understand how these situations are impacting the guest stay. All right. And then do they understand that the product is not the physical accommodations? The hotel business has very little to do with guest rooms. The vacation rental business has very little to do with the vacation homes and condos, because that is a commodity, the commoditization of lodging, okay? If you want to stand out, it's the people parts that makes the difference. So the product, yeah, okay, we need cleanliness and we need a comfy beds and we need secure locks on the doors, but that's the easy part. The real product is the experience. What do we do to touch their hearts emotionally? So here's some training tips for you, where you have either one-on-one, but ideally in a small group. If you're a really small staff, 2 or 3 people. If you're a larger company and you have 25 people, break them up into groups of 3 to 5. That's what we do. And have them brainstorm all the reasons why guests stay with you. A lot of times the staff doesn't take, we as staff members don't take time to think about why guests are there. I remember when I started at the Marriott, I thought travel was fun and glamorous because the only travel I did was going on spring break or going with my parents, and they did all the stressful planning. But now that I live on the other side of the front desk, I get it. Back then, I would look at business travelers. I would wonder, why is she so glum? Why are they so cranky? Why is this man so rushed? But now when I live on the other side of the front desk as a business traveler, sometimes I am glum, sometimes I am cranky, and very often I am rushed. Think about all of that. If you're near a hospital, do you stop to think about people that are staying there because someone's having surgery? I know I mentioned on the last webcast, right before last month's webcast, I trained a New York Presbyterian guest facility where it's actually attached to the New York Presbyterian Hospital and serves 2 other hospitals in the area. Every guest is either about to have major surgery, which for me would be scary, but even more scary for me is if my beloved family member was having a procedure the next day. And they're really amazing at empathy. But most hotels, do we stop to think about that they're there for a funeral, not just a wedding? And then business travelers, a lot of people think business travel, oh, Doug, you have it made. They see me traveling all over. Like, it must be nice. The company pays your bill. You get to stay for free. They pay for all your food. There's a lot of pressure on business travelers today. It can be really, really stressful. It could be very lonely for some people. Imagine the individually unique experiences people are living out on the other side of the desk, okay? What activities, what attractions, what local businesses might they be interested in using? Okay, so a lot of times people travel a long way to work in a hotel or a vacation home company because hotels are located in areas where there's no more affordable housing, okay? City center in most cities, you can't afford to live there and be a you know, a frontline worker. Vacation rental places, you know, you're located where the homes are in vacation areas. There's not, you know, your starter apartments there. So they're driving a long way. They don't eat at the restaurants where the tourists eat. They don't go to the locations where the business travelers go. So we need to think about that. And then when we're going to have them creative problem solving, a great activity is going back to the list of all the problems, write them on a piece of paper, throw them into a basket or bowl, and then have people draw them out and either do a little skit to role play. How would you handle this? Or talk through, what would you do? What would you do if you had a guest who forgot her husband forgot his heart medicine, or his wife forgot the diabetes medicine, or the child forgot the I can't think of this, the ephedrine shot too for your allergies? Or what would happen if you went to get an Uber and your phone was dead? Do we know the phone number of a taxi? How would we handle that? Collaborate on those imaginative solutions. What will we do if a guest needed an extra bed and we had no more rollaways and extra beds? What will we do? Collaborate on those imaginative solutions. And then if you're going to empower people, I like the word entrustment, entrust better than empower. Set a specific dollar amount that they can use to resolve those situations. Because sometimes if the person to whom that complaint is or that quandary is presented then offers a solution and then fixes it, we avoid the guest coming back and asking for the full refund. Okay, now I do want to address the elephant in the room. A lot of people think, oh, guests today only complain because they want a refund. We have addressed that in our previous webcast. By the way, all of our previous webcasts are on YouTube, but they're also coming out as podcasts. And we have one called Preparing for and Dealing with the Full Refund Scammers. Okay, so I get it, but the vast majority of guests out there do not come to launch their complaint with the intention to make us miserable and get a full refund. So throw a little love their way, and you think about what you could do instead is, I'm going to come back to that in just a moment here. Yeah, well, let me go ahead and address it now. Give them, you know, a certain dollar amount that they could buy someone's dinner or comp a certain amount if you're a hotel, or send them over to have lunch because the accommodation is not usable because the AC is going to be out for the next few hours. Buy them dinner while they go out. Now, last, proven coping skills for dealing with negativity. I'm going to touch on this only briefly. Last month, we talked about Kamamutta, which is the feeling that we call the warm fuzzy feeling. And in that, we did address overcoming the negative vibe of guests. So go back and listen to that. But I want to reiterate some of these because some of you may not have attended last month. Train your team how to be a lightning rod to truly ground the guest negativity. Now, I often ask when I'm teaching the classes if people know what a lightning rod does. First, I say, how many of you know the term lightning rod? And almost everybody raises their hand. And then I say, who can tell me what a lightning rod actually does? Okay, and usually there's a few, but not everyone. So a lightning rod, you know, lightning actually always goes for the highest point. Now, you can't really see here because this photo is of, I love this picture, but it's of a flat plains. I wouldn't want to be here in a lightning storm. Normally the lightning finds its way to the highest point. So a lightning rod goes on top of the structure and attracts the lightning. This picture doesn't actually show it hitting the lightning, but it's the only one I could find with the concept. The lightning hits the lightning rod, which is a highly conductive metal, goes down to a cable on the side of the house, and it then goes into the ground. This is why we say electricity needs to be grounded. And the lightning comes right through that lightning rod and goes into the ground and is dissipated and gone forever. Sometimes that's what people need when they're upset. So when we have to receive complaints, in our other classes, we talk about the KTN EARS method, empathize, and then apologize. Don't just say, oh, sorry. You have to say, I understand how you feel. I can imagine feeling the same way too. And I apologize. When you do that, very often people say, well, I know it's not your fault, and you're actually being very nice, but it was really difficult. You know, you have just grounded their negativity, but make sure it flows through you, not into you. Because if it flows into you, then it's bad for us. So train your staff on coping skills. If you are frontline staff, remember to have coping skills. 2 concepts from last month. Don't give them the remote control to your emotion. Don't let them press your button. Own your power, okay? And remember that it's okay to vent, but just to one person. Do not tell your coworker. We all have our favorite go-to venti that you vent to, and you vent to them and they vent to you, and that's great. But don't go and tell Chris, and then go and tell Terry, and then go and tell Sandy, and then go and tell Bobby, and then go home and tell the person that you ride with on the way home, and then walk in the door and say, oh my gosh, you can't believe what I went through today. Because what we do is we ruminate, another concept from psychology. So it's okay to vent, but don't disrespect guests. If you as a leader, make sure you especially lead by example, because sometimes leaders say, oh, that guy was such a 4-letter word I won't mention in my webcast, or what a meanie, he only wanted a refund. We reinforce this. Some of you leaders, you buy into this concept. Guests these days are more difficult than ever before. These days, guests only complain to get a refund. My current article, if you're getting our newsletter, actually you will get our newsletter if you registered for this. My article last month, my blog said, rosy retrospective. It's a term from psychology. When people look back on the past, they always remember fondly, more fondly than it actually was. And I talk about, I've been working with the public since I was 9 years old in my parents' retail store. My mom was a shopkeeper in Kennedy Craft Supply Store. I ran the cash register from 9 to 20 when I worked in hotels. And from 20 to 28, I worked in hotels before I started my business. Guests have always been difficult, okay? So don't buy into this thing that, oh, guests are more mean and everyone is horrible. There's always going to be that element. And cynicism and optimism spread as fast as the coronavirus does, or did, or still does. So how can we train our staff that every conversation, to turn every conversation into a sales and marketing opportunity? Let's take a look. So depending on what type of lodging company you work for, where your location is, and your business model, some or all of these will apply, okay? So once again, we have everything from, we have a high-end restaurant company. Thank you for joining us. We have destination associations. We have hotels of all different types. So let's look at the guest services / guest experience staff. Every email, every chat message, every in-app message exchange, and especially every phone call is an opportunity to create uniquely human conversations. So greet people by name. This is a dying standard. When I worked in hotels, everybody answered with their name. Most of the time now, I have people, when I call places myself and when we start new clients on our Kennedy training network, mystery shopping, they're not giving the name when they answer. I notice when I call in-house, people answer front desk or hello, operator. Introduce yourself, greet them by name. A lot of times now, when they call, their name shows up either through caller ID or through the telephone system. Now, your big way to humanize these is to paraphrase and restate, first of all, to clarify, but also to demonstrate understanding. So if you're responding to a phone call, oh, I understand, you can mention, oh, so it's going to be your first time traveling. It's your first time visiting our city. Oh, so you're here for an important meeting? Oh, comment on it. Okay, and the same thing in in-app messaging. What I'm talking about here is when someone inquires about a vacation rental home on Airbnb or Vrbo, or someone sends you a message on Expedia about a booking they just made or booking.com. Do you know the cancellation rate is somewhere between 18 and 25%? I reached out to my friend Trevor Stewart Hill at Revenue Managers about this recently when I'm working on my current article that's going to publish with a similar title this month, that about 18 to 25% of the bookings that come through an OTA cancel. And I believe a lot of that is because they booked the reservation. Some of them email us a question and we simply answer it, or we don't answer it. That's actually a bigger problem. But someone says, yes, how many vehicles can I park? 2. Instead of saying, oh, hello, this is Doug here on site at hotel name, or this is Doug with area reservations at rental company name. We're great to hear from you. We can take 2 vehicles. Do you have more? We can provide ideas, okay? And then always express interest in hosting them by phone, by text, by in-app message. Put some heart into it. A lot of us use this generic response. I always say, don't be generic. Let me know if you have any more questions. Instead, let's say, let us know what we can do to host your visit. Let us know what we can do to help your business trip be successful. Let us know what we can do to help your hospital stay be less stressful. Let us know what we can do to help your vacation to Sandals, Jamaica be more memorable, or Royalton, Jamaica is also here today. You host your family, right? Be personal, not generic. Now, maintenance techs. We in hotels, we call this engineering. In the vacation and condo rental business, we call them maintenance techs, usually housekeeping. With the increasing use of self-check-in, you literally may be the only staff member they ever interact with. So if you're a manager of operations, I hope you take this recording and share it with your maintenance techs and let her know how important her jobs are. Chances are the only reason you see them in maintenance is because something has gone wrong. Same is true with housekeeping. You have the person that complains and they want to have someone come up in their room and they want you to show you the little hair. Sometimes they're being mean. The little hair in the corner of the shower stall, right? Or the speck of dust behind the mini fridge that they pulled out to share that. But you know, it may not be good news, or it could be a legitimate complaint that there actually is some dust balls, or there is actually something on the sheet that was overlooked by the laundry department. So they're not happy to see you. But if we greet them by name and introduce yourself, instead of knocking on the door, hi, toilet clog? Yep, toilet clog. Hi, I'm Doug from maintenance, or hello, I'm Doug from housekeeping. I understand we had needed to recheck some issues for you. And greet them and let them know. By the way, when you're dispatching your maintenance and housekeeping techs, we tell them 2109 needs more towels, or vacation home wherever needs, their iron is broken or they need assistance with something. Do we tell that tech or housekeeping person their name so they can greet them by name? Oh, hello, Mr. Kennedy. Show interest and ask about their travel plans. What brings you folks here? Engage the traveling companions. What's bringing you to the area? Have you gonna have any free time during your business trip if they're on business? Chat them up. Now, at first, people may not want to chat, but if you just kind of knock on the door a little bit and say, hey, you want to talk? Sometimes they'll slam it closed, but then later during the interaction, they warm up, they calm down, they realize, oh, Chris from maintenance, she's just trying to do her job. And they'll say, by the way, Chris, how long have you worked here, right? So at least try. Show interest in their traveling companions. Maintenance techs always tell me the children love to follow around the maintenance tech. So let's engage them. Or if you have the grandparent, okay? If you have stickers for kids, I think it is a brilliant idea for maintenance and housekeeping people to give little smiley stickers or any kind of stickers. Kids love stickers, right? And for adults, you know, provide your maintenance or housekeeping inspectors, the ones that go back when there's a problem. Do we give them a certificate to get a local beer or a wine either in our hotel or for a rental company to a nearby store? Starbucks cards, a $5 Starbucks card just for your inconvenience, or just because you're being nice. And if it's a big problem, $50 DoorDash or Grubhub, gift cards is a lot better than comping a stay or having somebody ask for that. It is called instant gratification. Make sure our housekeeping and maintenance texts never say, oh, this happens all the time. Yup, this AC and this one's been a problem all summer. Yup, this refrigerator should have been replaced a long time ago. Or these new tech thing we put in, it's just not working right. Just say it's not up to our standards. We actually have a webcast called The Language of Hospitality. Check it out in our history. Now, daily opportunities, random encounters everywhere, corridors and lobbies. Anytime you walk down a hallway or across a corridor, if you are a vacation rental company, you're driving a company vehicle, you're wearing a logo shirt. If you work in a hotel or a condo hotel, you actually are in the building, you're waiting for the elevator with folks, you're on the elevator. Funny thing, the fewer floors, the slower the elevators go. You go to a 3-story hotel, it's like, you have a lot of time for conversation. You go to a 25-story hotel, you may not have as much time, but you've got time to greet someone and say hello. And if you're wearing a name badge, and if you're representing the brand, you wear a brand logo, chat people up, share those smiles, share the eye contact. At the parking lot in the porte cochere, when you see people pulling up, now we no longer have people waiting for taxis, but they're waiting for their Uber. They may not have valet parking, but they're waiting for their Uber. If they did park a car, do we play lobby lizard, go out there and chat people? It's a great time when people are relaxed, when they're waiting. Anywhere you are wearing a name tag or logo, these are your opportunities. We're going to conclude today by looking at what personalized service is and what it is not. This is extrapolated from one of my recent articles where I gave specific examples. So let me run through these. And again, you may want to share these with your staff. This segment may be good to replay. So, true sense of personalized hospitality is not created by these examples, most of which are oversold by tech companies. Seeing your name on the TV screen when you enter your guest room. My son Adam and his wife Kira, they got married, they went to Disney World. They walked in and he took a picture that said, "Welcome, Adam and Kira Kennedy." They were super excited. They took a picture and put it on their social media. I doubt they will do that next time because after once, it is worn off. It happens every branded hotel that I go to. I no longer get a warm fuzzy. Similarly, getting the text, "Hello, I'm Vicky, your virtual concierge. That was cool the first time. Now it's just another annoying text." Getting an email that says, "Thank you for being a valued guest. Can you please do a review?" Even though no one here ever talked to you the whole time and you have no relationship with us. Reading an email addressed to you by name specifically is not even welcoming you, just trying to sell you an upgrade or some kind of add-on. Having your name used 3 times in a robotic conversation. "Welcome to the hotel, Mr. Kennedy. How was your trip in, Mr. Kennedy? We're glad to have you stay with us, Mr. Kennedy. Here's your key, Mr. Kennedy. I hate getting Mr. Kennedy to death." Use the name in a natural way and use the name conversationally. Receiving an automated follow-up message after something has gone wrong. Okay. "Thank you for requesting towels. We hope you got them." Okay. That may be service, that may be efficient, but that is not hospitality. So let me conclude today by showing how we truly convey personalized hospitality and service excellence. And this may be the ones you want to share with your staff. They're so simple. They're so basic. But we want to know intellectually that these are important, but take the journey from the head to the heart and internalize these and make them habits. Smiles as people approach you. When anyone, okay, examples of personalized hospitality and guest service excellence is truly conveyed when anyone with a name tag smiles at you as they approach you in a hallway, greeting you as you pass by. A lot of people in hotels, they're walking down the corridor, vacation rental too, when you're walking down in a condo building or outside in the parking lot of the Welcome Center, and you see someone approaching you and about 10 feet away, you should lock eyes and 3 feet away, greet them. We call this the 10-5 rule, the 10-4 rule, the 10-3 rule. But what a lot of people do is they get close and they look down and they become a carpet inspector, looking for a tear or a thread pull. So keep those eyeballs up, lock eyes, okay? Anyone with a name tag who breaks the awkward silence in an elevator to greet you. You know, it's a very awkward moment in an elevator. We're all standing there. It's like, oh, should we talk? Should we talk? And you have a lovely hotel staffer. Oh, good morning, everyone. How are you? Suddenly everybody smiles and they all start joining you in conversation. And you see a little baby. Oh, hello, baby. What's your name? Or you see a little dog. Hi, puppy. What's your name? You just stole the heart of the pet owner, okay? Or mom or dad holding the baby. Anyone who offers local insiders tips on something to eat, see, or do. So while you're in the porte cochere or in the out front someone's waiting for their Uber. Hello, how are you? How's your stay going? Tell me, what are your plans? Give them a local insider's tip. Oh, if you tried this, have you seen this? You're here on business. Oh, are you gonna have any free time? You know, the museums are open late on Thursdays. In major cities, that's very often the case. People want to get out. They want to get away from email, okay? When a front desk clerk acknowledges you as you pass by and remembers you from the previous day, ideally by name, okay, the really good ones, but at least say, oh, hello, how's your business trip going, okay? Or at least say hello, even if you don't remember their name or why they're here. A front desk or food server who recommends an upsell, not just to say, oh, for $20 more, you can get a suite, but based on your needs. Oh, by the way, I noticed you have a family. I did just want to offer Mr. Kennedy for only $100 more. We do have our family suite, and it's fantastic if you have young children because they have a separate door and a separate bedroom. So if your children go to bed earlier, you'll have a little privacy if you want to stay out later. Or a wine that goes with the meal that you just ordered, or something that pairs well. Personalized and hospitality and service is conveyed when a housekeeper that you never meet, but who notices the children's clothing and toys all over the room and leaves you some extra towels. Because if you have little kids, you can never have enough towels. Or someone who notices, I love this one, that you only drink the decaf K-cups, and instead of putting you 2 regulars and 2 decafs, they leave you extra decafs. I love this when this happens because I'm a decaf drinker now. A front desk colleague who welcomes you in a personalized way rather than saying, oh, hi, Mr. Kennedy, thank you for being a loyalty member. We appreciate your loyalty. Here's your Kirkland water bottle. Yeah. That does not make me feel loyal as a bond boy, a Hilton Honors IHG guest member, right? I know a lot of times we cannot give the upgrade, but do what Delta Airlines do. They come around and they thank their high-profile loyalty members. By the way, Mr. Kennedy, I just wanted to thank you for being a platinum, and I noticed you're a million miler. That makes me feel better because there's like 50 people on the upgrade list for like 10 first-class seats. I'm not diamond, I don't get that. But they actually welcome me. That is more important. That's what you can really do. It costs you nothing. The bottle of water is nice, but really, Kirkland water. Upon arrival, any colleague who asks about how your travels went and then listens. Don't just say, how's your trip in? Good, that's good. The person will have travel demo. What about last Friday when the crowd spike went out, knocked out? People are waiting for hours in airports. Flights are canceled. All the rental cars are gone. Total chaos. How was your travels today? People want to share, especially if they're by themselves. Say, oh, goodness. Well, you're here now. Disney World, I have the Walt Disney World Swan and Dolphin. I trained them a couple times on our Heart of Hospitality certification. By the time you actually get to a Disney hotel and you have survived either traffic or the Orlando airport, which is lovely airport, but it is crowded, trying to get your transportation. You get there, people are cranky, they've been through a lot of stress. You say, how was your travel? And then when they're done venting, you say, I can imagine how frustrating that has been. What are your plans now? Right? And engage the children. What's your favorite character? That is the Disney magic. So take time to listen and I understand. Wow, share some empathy. When any colleague comments on your sports team logo, on your shirt or your hat, people notice my class ring. I proudly wear my class ring. I'm the first in my family to go to college thanks to my parents' hard work, and my mom is a shopkeeper. Go Wildcats. I forget I'm wearing the ring, but I go to sign on the little electronic pad or occasionally the paper printout. People say, oh, is that UK? You know, we're big time college basketball. When this happens, I love seeing this when I'm traveling with my wife or my daughter, and a female greets another female and offers a sincere compliment regarding something that's obviously unique, piece of jewelry, a handbag, or a clothing item. You know, for many years, I don't like to stereotype because a lot of women have always been good at this. But let me put it this way, a newer thing that is in recent years is women to purposefully make it a point to lift each other up and help people share body positivity, help people feel good. I love your earrings. My wife has a certain sweater that she wears. It's very fluffy. And people always say, oh my gosh, I love your sweater. And of course, she loves to share the story of how, you know, she got it, where she purchased it. But you make people feel good. So female to female, this works really well. It used to be people could comment on men's ties, like the one thing we do to dress up a really boring suit. But of course, very few of us wear ties anymore. So I don't know. Commenting on my class ring, that's a good one for men. When someone comments about your home state, where are you from? No matter where a person is from, you know, they really, really, really love to talk about it. Even the most boring state. You know, I'm from Kentucky. I always say, Kentucky, what do you think of? Fried chicken. I am from the land of fried chicken. But when someone says, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Kentucky. Kentucky, really? I love to tell them, yeah, we're more than fried chicken. We actually have bourbon and thoroughbred horse racing. But it makes me feel good. A bartender who remembers your favorite beer or your cocktail. I no longer drink, but I remember many times working in hotels. We had Patrick at the Mayfair House in Coconut Grove. This man was amazing. We had sit-down check-in when in the 80s when I worked there, and we would give everyone their own handcrafted cocktail. And when our regular guest, Patrick would look through the arrivals, and he didn't even have a CRM. He just remembered who liked what drink very often. And literally he would walk out and with their cocktail in hand when he saw them walk in. A host or hostess that says, are you ready to be seated yet? Not just one. Funny story, just last week I was at Majestic Resorts in Dominican Republic, and it's a lot of couples this time of year. It's a lot of families, and the only person staying there by myself because I'm there to train the staff. And I walked into the buffet. I usually prefer the buffet because I'm dining alone and it's quick. And the hostess did make the mistake. She said, good evening, sir, just one? But when they ask you that, it makes me feel like capital L loser. So I literally said, yes, just one. No one wants to have dinner with me tonight. And her coworker was the cutest thing. She said, well, I'll have dinner with you, sir. She was, you know, very funny. She takes me by the arm, links her arm through mine, and we walk. She said, come on, I'll sit with you. And we had a really good laugh. It warmed my heart. That is personalized hospitality. Make the guest feel good. So in conclusion, remember, when your place, when your product and your price are relatively the same, and by the way, they pretty much are. If you're an all-inclusive, you price against other all-inclusives. You have software that processes the competition's price and predicts demand and sets the rates. If you're in the vacation rental home business, you now in the last 5 years also have pricing software that prices accordingly. A lot of us in the branded hotels are very similar to other branded hotels in the same segment. So the place is probably right next door to you. The product looks very similar, and due to technology, the price is almost the same. What makes the difference, ladies and gentlemen, is the people who are your superpower. It is the people who deliver hospitality. Tech is wonderful and it is increasingly efficient, but if you want to stand out today, turn every conversation into a sales and marketing opportunity. So let me finish out by thanking again Track, a TravelNet solution, Travel Outlook, the premier hotel call center, and Better Talent. These are our next upcoming webcasts. You do have to sign up for each webcast individually. They're not automatically registered. Next month, we rotate back to group and event sales, so please join us in that area. Those of you who are in other sales may benefit as well. Then we rotate next to reservation sales, how to turn those inquiries into outbound sales opportunities. They're particularly big in resorts, boutiques, high-end, and also vacation homes. And then we'll be back to talk about hospitality in October to get you on board the tricycle of guest service excellence. All of these are now at our YouTube channel, and as of last week, entered as podcast, either on YouTube, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Castbox. I think I hit them all. You can now listen to us in our menu. Contact us if you're interested in on-site training, live, private webcam training, conference presentations, mystery shopping. We also score real calls and email exchanges for those of you who have audio recordings, and of course, private live, individual agent, sales agent, and front desk agent coaching. So thank you for joining us. We love to see our regulars turning out, especially in the month of July when so much is going on. We hope to see you again on future KATN webcast events. Join us again next month. Thank you so much for joining us today.